All right. Glad to know you're tuned in to Rapid 96.5 on the frequency modulated band. To serve his people on the 21st day of March 2022, Nwachukwu declared his intention to run for Senate from Abia Central Senatorial District in the 2023 elections as a member of the People's Democratic Party. On the 1st of June 2022, before the primaries of the PDP, Nwachukwu withdrew from the party's senatorial candidate contest. He cited a lack of transparency, non-compliance with due process, manipulations, and the non-conduct of the three-man delegate Congress in his district as the reasons for his actions. 2 days later, he was elected senatorial candidate of the Abia Central ahead of the 2023 general elections on the platform of the Young Progressive Party. In the studio with me this morning is Chukwu Nwachukwu KSC Uri Chindere of Nigeria. Glad to have you in the studio.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think you need to have the mic straightened out, please. Yes, that's the way you pick, and you come close so your voice is very clear and audible. Are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable.
All right, let's get to do this. Let's start off with, your exit from the People's Democratic Party, a party that you've been for how long? I mean, before 1999?
I don't think that's the issue at this point. The issue is that everybody moved on.
Yeah.
And you already cited the reasons why a lot of us exited the party. I think I'd rather discuss the future and how it concerns the people of Abia Central rather than dwelling on
the past.
And the past. The past is the past.
I have a concern. I mean, why YPP?
YPP is a progressive party, because it has the appellation of young. Doesn't mean it's for young people. It's just a name, it's younger in the generational parties. And the key word is progressive. So we have progressive elements all around the country who congregate around there to propagate the ideals of moving the nation forward, moving the younger people into positions of authority. I personally believe in transferring power to the next generation.
Okay.
It's one of the mantra of my campaign, and this is why a lot of us who congregated into the Young Progressive Party did. Again, you find that most of the elements who exited the former party, there really no need to mention them here, because when you mention it, you're promoting them, okay? Mm-hmm. But you find that most of the other party, most of the people who exited there ended up in the same location, the same party. So it's like taking up the toga of your previous party and wearing a new party. Because you change your uniform doesn't mean you change who you are.
Yeah.
But the people in Young Progressive Party are mostly brand new, no imposition, and no funds to start with. We're not funds driven, we're not money driven, we're ideas driven. And that's why we find ourselves in the Young Progressive Party to do a totally new thing in Nigeria, in Abia State in particular. That's why we're there.
All right. You are from Nsulu in Ishialango North, and there's been this clamor, that's the turn of Ndi Nsulu, right? The town of Ndi Ishialango North, and then narrow down to Nsulu. I mean, that argument or that claim, how has it worked for you? In your favor or not?
Well, first of all, I believe that for any office you run, is particularly a high office as high as the Senate or the presidency or the governorship of a state, should not, the zoning where you come from is important, but not the primary reason to elect you. You offer your people who you are, what's your antecedent, what's your program, and those are the issues that set me way above most candidates in Nigeria. I'm not talking about Abia State.
Yeah.
But then when you come to issue of equity, which the local people understand, it is the right of Isialangwa North to produce the next senator. And I'll give you the reasons. It's very clear that at the onset, Isialangwa South produced the Senate. Abia Central, let me give you a background. Abia Central has,
I would like for that.
yeah, Abia Central has three local government from the Omonato axis, then three local government from the Ikwa and Omaha axis. In the beginning, Senator Bob Wannon represented Isialangwa South. And then because there's homogeneity in Abia Central, it now turned over to Ikwa and Omaha, and Senator Chris Adigije became the senator.
Yeah.
Then it reverted to Omonato, and Osisi Amangwa took it, which was Senator Nkechi Nwogwu. And now it's been held again by Ikwa and Omaha under Senator T.A. Orji. So as it reverts to Omonato, it is then the turn of Isialangwa North. And so what I said, somebody actually told me, I am the right person at the right time from the right place. Right person because of my antecedent, from my qualification, of who I am, what I've been able to do in Nigeria and internationally. The right time, this is a time for people of competence to take on the Senate, in the right place from Isialangwa North. So that's why there's nobody else running for the Senate from Isialangwa North. There's nobody else running for Senate from Osisi because they know it's the turn of Isialangwa North.
Well, can I just hold you in your tracks there?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm aware that the governor of Abia State, Okezie Ikpeazu, had said every other person interested in running, for that position, should jettison their idea as a result of the emergence of the PDP governorship candidate, the late Professor Ikone, who is incidentally from Nsulu, right? And on that note, he said every other person should, stay put, right? We're giving you the governorship. Let's ask some other person or allow other people to go in. Couldn't that be, or is it not that the reason why you don't have any other person from Isialangwa not contesting for that position?
No. The reason is because of the imposition that was in the previous party. And when that argument does not hold water at all, because you operate on precedents. The precedents are very clear. Why would he or anybody say that somebody from Isialangwa North cannot be governor and at the same time a senator from there? Whereas in Obingwa, was a president almost from the same ward. The governor for 8 years is from Obingwa. The senator for 16 years from Obingwa. So what's the rationale in saying that this doesn't happen?
Okay.
Secondly,
Makes sense.
Secondly, and I hope people understand that, because you can't speak from two sides of your mouth. If you're going to go to equity, go with clean hands. And now you have Senator T.A. Orji, is the senator for Abia Central. You have Engineer Chinedu Orji, is the speaker, as a matter of fact, from the same family. So what is the rationale in saying that two people cannot come from there? But by the same token, what we understood, as the rightful thing is that when the governorship, came from Abia South, it stopped in Abia Central.
Okay.
And Osisi Amangwa is a major part of Abia Central. Okay? So nobody told us at that point that it was coming to Isialangwa North. We were told it's for Omonato.
Yeah.
And we all had the preferences of who to support.
Okay.
And I am a flag bearer for YPP, for Abia Central. General Enyina Nwafo is the YPP gubernatorial candidate for Abia State, who happens to come from one NATO. So I find that, and I like his competency. He's a young, vibrant gentleman, and he has experience both in the private sector and the public domain. And so, we just happen to work together.
Okay, so at some point you had you were interested in running for governorship or the position of governor, right?
Yeah.
What made you change your mind?
Because, people grow, and the situation called for younger people to run for governorship at this point, and all over you follow the trend.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really make sense for me to come and crowd the system. And Senate is not for the uninspired, it's not for the unaccomplished, it's not a place to dance at Jasco, as I said.
Really?
It's a place for mature people, not necessarily mature people, but people who have accomplished. Take the Senate of the United States. It's not for young people. That is not to say that young people are not welcome, no. But it's, sometimes experience comes with age. You take my background, I've been the Director General of the National Director of Employment, superintending over the whole country. I'm a National Productivity Merit Award winner. I've been a former commissioner. I've been a former this and that. And none of those were elected. As a matter of fact, when I was the Director General of NDE, we introduced empowerment in Nigeria. Empowerment that I introduced was not KK empowerment. It was not rice empowerment. It's to empower the families to create jobs.
How did you do that?
Because we created entrepreneurs. When you create an entrepreneur, he becomes an employer of labor instead of looking for labor himself. If I take you now and I give you an opportunity and access to a development finance driven loan with development finance interest rate of between 5 and 9%. You would then be able to employ maybe 4 or 5 other people. If you employ 4 other people, you created 5 employment opportunities for people. And this is how you drive wealth. When 500 of you employ, let's say 100 of you create employment for 5 people, you created 500 employment opportunities. I'll give you example. Just a few days ago, when we were in a rally in Osisioma, and I'm talking to those Osisioma women and the people in the Isialangwa South, and Ikuana particularly, on all these areas. Now, they were complaining about their sons and daughters who have been out of school for the last 4 or 5 years, no job. And I'm saying help is coming because the opportunity to create employment is there, available in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You take CBN, you take the Anchor Borrowers Program, they have over 250 billion available for agriculture. They have 200 billion available for commercial agricultural loan scheme. They have 200 billion available for small and medium enterprises development. Bank of Industry has 500 billion. Why are people not accessing those funds?
Why?
Because of lack of the knowledgeable representation. These things are there. I've driven them before. I am the president of Agricultural and Industrial Entrepreneurs of Nigeria. Regardless of whether I'm senator or not, we're already partnering with federal agencies. We're going to create 500 cluster members in every local government in Nigeria.
Oh, really?
Yes, really, because I'm an expert. That's why I say you need to send experts who know what they're doing. And then sometimes you get some questions which, are laughable. How can a senator do that? I'm not saying that a senator whose perceived primary responsibility is to make laws.
Legislative duties.
Yeah, but that's a mundane excuse for lack of performance. A senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria offers you a platform to have access, to induce, to make those agencies do their job because you have oversight functions over them. And so you make Bank of Industry do their job, or you ask them why. You make the Bank of CBN make their job, or you call them before a committee and ask them why. These monies are meant for Nigerians, okay?
Yeah.
In my program particularly, driven by my background as a consultant development economist, who have demonstrated the capacity and capability to enrich Nigerians, And I'll give you a background. As the Director General, first of all, Director of Operations of the National Director of Employment, we trained 100,000 Nigerians every year in skills acquisition.
Okay.
Now, when you finish with the skills acquisition, whether it's barbering or hairdressing or catering or fashion designing or refrigerator or whatever, we'll now put you through entrepreneurship training and equip you with loans to start your own businesses. As a matter of fact, Nigeria is replete with success stories of people who became rich from the loans given to them by NDE. Again, during Ochendo's time, I wrote a proposal for 1 billion naira agricultural loan scheme. And people actually, for the first time, got funds directly into the account. We never awarded any contract. Funds were directed directly into the account so they can grow their own businesses. And because of my background, I knew that for you to become an entrepreneur, you'd have to go through an entrepreneurial training. So we trained them, and something funny actually happened, in the training hall. I would ask them, how many of you here are businessmen and women? And I want everybody to listen carefully what I'm saying. Nobody raised their hands. But when I asked how many of you here are farmers, everybody raised both hands. I said, you already failed it. Because all of you, and I'm talking to all those Nigerians, all those Abia people, not necessarily Abia Central, all of you are businessmen and women whose business is farming. But farming is a business because we give you an opportunity, a development finance loan, which I will give to every cluster in Abia Center.
You sound like you have it already.
Yes, I do. I have the. I wrote the concept, so I'm an authority on what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I don't know how many of the people running for Senate are authority on what they talk about. You see, politics is not technical, and I tell people I'm not a politician. I'm a technocrat. Okay, but one need the platform to be able to sell to go to where we want to go to.
I had the privilege of speaking with a senatorial candidate, from a party as well. I mean, during one of the debates, he was a debater, a candidate from a party, and he said he had the contacts to do a lot of things. And sometimes, the only inhibition to achieving some of those things he's thinking about is even the letterhead bearing Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Do you belong to that school of thought, or do you agree with...
Explain that again, I'm
All
sorry,
right.
sir.
He has a lot of ideas, concepts, and contacts, but then he's unable to pull it without a political backing. Suffice to say, the office of the Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
You can't give what you don't have. That shows your ignorance of what is available. I am the national president of Agricultural and Industrial Entrepreneur. I'm not a senator yet.
Okay.
And we've been able to achieve quite a lot. We have put up a program. We have MOU with 2 federal agencies.
Okay.
And if it wasn't for the COVID, we would have started on implementation of a pilot program of 60,000 entrepreneurs across the 6 geopolitical zones. And I'm not a senator. But what I did say is that when I become senator, it creates a better platform and easier access. But you don't need to be a senator or anybody in that category to exercise what you have content for. A lot of them talk about, their job is legislative. They don't know how to do that. I'm surprised somebody would say something like that. Or some other person ignorantly talks about being a chairman of a committee. The process of becoming chairman of a committee, first of all, you have to win the election. And secondly, your party has to have a majority in the Senate.
Yeah.
It's the majority party that appoints a chairman of a committee. And what I'm seeing today, I don't see one particular party having a super majority. So it's going to be a coalition, of parties. So deceiving people that you already have assigned, this is just pure deceit and possibly trying to deceive people so what they don't know. When you go there, the incidence of power is predicated on who you know, how they know you, how they perceive you. I'm a national figure. Most of those people in the Senate already know me. Even those who have not met me know my antecedent, they know my name.
Well, that's one of the selling points of the PDP senatorial candidate for the position you're vying for. He says he's been, there, done that, a former minister, also, what else? Organizing secretary of the PDP, and so it will be easier for him to, get the ball rolling when he gets on board. I'd like to, having brought that. Let me juxtapose that with the next question.
Well, I have run my campaign to be issue driven. I won't join issues with anybody.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to with the next question. What makes you stand out? I mean, from the rest of the candidates who also claim that they are national personalities, because you hear the word lobbying come into play when it comes to legislation and all that.
So that's again a misnomer to confuse people. Legislators are supposed to be lobbied. Okay? When I hear people say, why are you going to lobby your fellow senator? That means you don't have the clout. You discuss with your fellow senators and tell them, first of all, you go through the selection process, okay, and you network within the system. And that's not what I call lobbying. Lobbying is for people from outside who lobby you to make legislation that will dovetail into the success of their programs. So why am I going to lobby a fellow senator? That means I don't have enough confidence in myself. I talk to my fellow senators as equals and see how we can get in there. First of all, when you get there, you have to be a part of the process that produces the Senate presidency.
Yeah.
Okay? And then they'd have to know what are you made of, what's your background. If you are beggarly, nobody respects you. Okay? But back to the question you talked about, a candidate who said that I don't want to join issues with any candidate. I'm totally focused on my programs, backed by my experience. I've told you, the largest office of the National Director for Employment is in Old Umuahia. NDE office is there. I've told you that we trained 100,000 Nigerians in skills acquisition. Now, when you're also looking for a job, you also be equipped with skill set. But we turned a lot of those people into entrepreneurs who created jobs for themselves. We also empowered 36,000 Nigerians every year in agriculture.
For how many years?
For 5 years when I was there in the NDE. Okay. And all over the country. And the success story is there. Even in Abia State here, as a matter of fact, some news person like you, asked me the same question. I said, from Iguano. And I said, yes, says my brother got that. He's now a rich guy. So the stories are there. We also trained 36,000 Nigerians in small and medium enterprises, okay? And they're there. Now, with that experience, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm talking to some traders now in Osisioma today in the capital. I'm talking to people when I spoke to some people, I told them, why don't you produce what you sell? And it's so easy to produce. What's so difficult for me to arm in clusters? Those traders, they're going to be armed into cooperatives. So if they produce pepper, let's say, they grow pepper in a farm, then we can arm some other arm of entrepreneurs to actually process it, rebag it, and they sell them within those markets.
So you're producing pepper, someone is processing it.
The same thing, that's create more employment. But what you're doing is you're encouraging domestic production and productivity in Abia Central. Okay? And guess what? When you produce normally, when you have excess supply over demand, the prices will fall.
All right, simple economics. We'll take a moment, and when we return, we'll continue to speak with Chief Chukwu Nwachukwu, the ex-NDE boss and the candidate of the Young Progressive Party, Abia Central Senatorial District. It will just be a moment, and we'll be right back.
Make you paint house with The beauty go last year because
My guy, which kind paint have you used? We go make my house go well.
Na Sackloss paint.
Paint we go make my house shine.
Sackloss paint.
What about paint we go last for plenty years?
Na still Sackloss paint. Sackloss paint na ogbonge paint wey don win both national and international award on top paint matters.
Abeg, where dem dey?
Dem dey nationwide. Sackloss paint get one ogbonge wey dem call Sackloss satin paint. If dirty touch the paint, you fit use water and soap take clean am cha-cha. Sackloss paint get other ones like emulsion paint, test coat, gloss, sack flash car paint, matte, industrial marine coating, red oxide primer, aluminium, screening paint, auto varnish, and other barbarous products. For that correct building paint wey you need na Sackloss paint. Their price na shipping. For more information, call 070 30 90 4125.
bụ Adukwaro Ada Chineke kachara chọọ mma ma kwadokwa ya n'ụzọ zuru oke maka ịnọchite anya anyị ka anyị sonyere ada anyị tozuru etozu gụzuo agụzụ ma werekwa egwu Chineke na-eme ihe niile ka abịa nọt wee gbuzuo ma chake tụnyere ma kwado barịsta Dr. Mrs. Carol Dikokorafọ maka ọkwa sineti nke abịa nọt ka ihe niile wee meziere anyị magaba n'iru ka anyị kwado nne dị ọgọzụ oke amokwu n'ọnụ Igbo ji eme ọnụ
Celebrating your family and friends has become cheap like a cup of tea, easy as ABC, and rapid like it should be. You can send birthday greetings and goodwill messages on Rapid FM for just 1,000 naira. Other events like weddings, child dedication, housewarmings, religious and government functions go for even less, 500 naira. Now, your loved ones have no excuse not to celebrate you rapidly on your day because all they have to do is visit our website at www.rapidfm965.com/request or call 07049 220965.
Well, glad to know you're still tuning to the sound of your city. This is Rapid 96.5 on the frequency modulated band. In the studio is the Young Progressive Party candidate for Abia Central Senatorial District, Chief Chukwu Nwachukwu. We've been having a conversation for the past 30 minutes. The United States educated Nigerian economist, a statesman, business analyst, management expert, said he's not a politician but a technocrat. Well, off the microphone, we've been speaking on SME development and fund provision for small businesses. It leads me to my first question in this second half. Sir.
Yeah.
What are your immediate plans? I mean, if you eventually become the senator to represent Abia Central, my senator, what are your immediate plans for Abia Central? What are you going to do immediately you get into the House? Do you have plans? Do you have bills, that you've lined up? But first and foremost, what is the first thing you're going to do?
I did tell you. My campaign is policy driven.
Okay.
Maybe I should explain, on those areas because they come on based on experience. We say family economic program empowerment, not KK empowerment.
Okay.
Because the average politician or who've been representing everybody, they think that giving you KK as empowerment. I said, no. The family's got to eat first. There's so much poverty in the land. And so we create those things I talked to you about. We're going to create industrial agro clusters in every local government in Abia Central. It's going to be all over the country, but particularly in Abia Central. where people who are unemployed can become businessmen and women who will actually employ other people, creating wealth. Second thing is good and sustainable jobs, not rice. The rice they've been given most of the time, and when I asked them on the campaign trail, they confirm that if you give 100 bags of rice or 50 bags of rice at the local government level, when you come to the polling unit, it's about 1.5 cups to 2 cups. Is that what you deserve? They will say wealth creation, not gifts. Because actually begging is something that is so shameful. Okay? When you combine the aggregate of the family economic empowerment with creation of jobs, not rice, then you're creating wealth. When you have a man or woman who can pay his son's school fees or her son's school fees, they don't need to come to your gate to beg you. They don't need to send you account numbers because now they will be able to do everything they require. But above all, I said we want to transfer power to the next generation. We want younger people to take over from us. I've not, been elected to any office, but I'm going to champion term limits. You can't jump from one position to the other. There are people who have been in position for 16 years after 23. Yeah. Or people who have been from one elected position to the other, nothing to show for it. Okay? When will your boys take over? I keep telling people, my boys, when will your boys grow? And I say for your boys to grow, we have to go down a little bit. So if you've done 4 years, and I'm talking to the youths, if you've done 4 years, and if you've done well, and you're re-elected for a second 4 years, please do not look for another office so other people can also have an opportunity to showcase what they can do. Look, ideas grow fresh every day. So sitting in the elected position for the rest of your life, what about the rest of the other parts of Nigeria, or other parts of Abia State? Why should
there's something I'd like to bring to your notice. Sorry that I had to stop you here, Jax. Mm-hmm. Listening to you talk about, giving other people a chance who, we've had serial contestants, people every 4 years.
You mentioned the serial contestants is something that we've got to stop.
All right, but then some persons believe that, you have served the nation meritoriously, and you've come of age. Why don't you leave the political scene for the younger people?
I haven't been in the political scene. I've been on the technical scene, which qualifies me now to come to the political scene. But I'm saying...
So the age doesn't matter?
Well, the age that I am is actually the age that fits the Senate. That you asked me before, why am I not running for governor? And I told you there's a clear distinction. The governance requires younger people at this time or fresh ideas. But Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is a moderating body that actually calms things down when things go out of hand, okay? So Senate is for people who have accomplished in so many other ways. That's where you find in the Senate people who have been CEOs of companies, of Fortune 500 companies. You find people who have been ex-governors going in there. I'm not saying it's necessarily good for... Senate shouldn't be a retiring place. You're making laws that create policies that rule Nigeria. When you're a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you represent Nigeria. And they have to see your intellect. They have to see your ability. They have to see how transparent you've been. They have to also see what have you been in the past. So it has nothing to do with, whether you're too old or not. And I'm not too old at all. I don't look old at all. I'm not old at all.
You don't even sound old. But then, let's come from this angle. We've got barely a week to the presidential elections and, of course, your elections as well. And as it stands now, what do you think about the permutation? Are you certain? Let's start off from your immediate village in Sulu. Do you have it covered? Do you think you'll be able to wield a level of influence across the non-Ungwa part of the senatorial district.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, because I have programmed for them. You take Iguana, for instance.
Okay.
In this 23 years of existence of politics in Iguana, it is so underdeveloped. It's ravaged by erosion, and yet they've had people in authority. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do for Iguana is to recognize the agricultural capacity. They're very high in yielding cocoa and cassava and rice. But erosion has created those areas that nobody can even access those things. And nobody's attracted development finance funds to empower the people to go into proper agriculture. So they forget that in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there's something called Ecological Fund, which is actually used to tackle erosion. So I'm going to make sure that Iguana people, will tackle the erosion, then they can open up the space for agriculture or what they do best. You go to Osisioma, you have the area, erosion area there too. And Osisioma, as big as it is, should actually be split into two local governments, yes. Okay? You take an example. You see, the thing is, we're so myopic. A lot of our people go there to represent themselves, not representing the state. Now, Kano has 44 local governments. Abia State has 17. So when we open up the space, we'll go for at least try to get those local. It's not just me alone, but to create, legislation and network with other people who are vulnerable, who feel cheated.
To increase the number of
local government. For Abia State.
To about how many?
As many as can be allowed. Or you take, Omaha North, for instance. Ohonho deserves to be its own local government, and I'll fight for it.
Okay.
Ohonho, Marjorie here, which is part of them, deserves to be in its own local government. Iguana is so vast, it deserves to be two local governments. Already had
legislation. Do you think these people would want that?
Who?
The people of Iguana.
Of course they would. Who wouldn't want that? Okay? Because you bring development closer to them.
How about Ishialangwa?
Ishialangwa already has a proposal for an Ike-Alangwa local government. Okay? So to be exceeded from the old Ishialangwa North. Okay? That's already there in the works, so I'm going to go for it. Now you have Mvase, which is large. Ishialangwa South should be split into two because there were two constituencies. They had Mbutu constituency and they had Mvase constituency. So those are areas that we will tackle. But now you take Ishialangwa North, for instance, and Sulu you keep talking about. Okay? You have what you call the dry port that has been there for over 30 years. And for as long as legislators have been, it's still remaining on the drawing board. At what point would they become active? So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that the dry port comes on. It's a federal project with Inland Water Revenue. I know the people there, and I know what to do. What does it call?
I had the privilege of speaking with the member representing Ishialangwa North State Constituency, who is vying for the position of member to represent Ishialangwa North and South State Constituency, talking about Jinja Usibe. And he also mentioned the Ishialangwa Dry Port. He talked about the Usulu Games Village. Now, here's my question. When the contract for the Umma-Iguano Road was given, and NNPC were asked to take over because they had the requisite finance, there were issues as to who attracted what road, who did that. If you go to Bende, that issue of who attracted this and who wrote this, also came into play at some point. It degenerated into an argument on radio. You have mentioned some of these salient issues that should be done, but then do you see yourself collaborating with?
You use the word collaboration, and I want to say it is senile, is infantile to deny your people opportunities to develop because you want to claim responsibility for attracting it. What does it matter who attracts it? The important thing is you're working for your constituency. Now, I was going to talk about the inland waterways that has the responsibility for the dry port.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a federal agency. Okay. So it's squarely in the federal domain. And to have that operating normally, you're going to have a double, you have the standard gauge of railway come from Port Harcourt to Mbase. That's already in the plan. But that's again in the drawing board. So for Mbase, for Nsulu, I'm going to pursue that you develop that to come and clear to drop the containers from One at Mbase. That means you're going to have to increase the capacity of that railway station, isn't it? Then from there, double, carriageway to the dry port area. That is going to open up that whole area. Again, I've told the Nsulu youth, and Mbase, my hometown particularly, the certain senator here, at this point, has done his best. I'm not in competition with him. I will not be in competition with anybody. I'm going to start from where he stops. He was kind enough to create legislation that brought approval to convert Abia State Polytechnic into a federal polytechnic. And I'm going to say no. Since the approval is there, I'm just going to work on it to bring it to Mbase there to become a university, which I've always, championed, even here, even with the current government, which I call University of Industry,
really?
Science and Technology. Okay? Abia people are very entrepreneurial, that they need the skill set to pursue the entrepreneurship development. There isn't anything the Igbo man sets his eyes on he cannot do. All you need to do is to tailor them to the real part of entrepreneurship training. But I was going to tell you something else at NDE. You take the fourth program we did was called Special Public Works.
Okay, what's that about?
That we were employing 36,000 Nigerians in short-term employment. But the whole essence is to reflate the economy. When you give unemployed people a certain amount of money monthly, you empower them to create a purchasing power.
Yeah.
And that is how you reflate the economy. When you now have purchasing power, you drive a demand. When you drive a demand, the drive it must attract a consequential supply. In other words, somebody wants to buy cassava. He doesn't have money to buy it. We give him money to buy it. He's not able to buy gari, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you've given him that demand to buy gari, people will produce gari.
Yeah.
Okay?
So that demand can be met.
That demand can be met. But the real thing is at a particular micro mix of a point of equilibrium. I've always said that where you monitor the prices, you make sure that the supply would always be lower than the demand so that the person selling will have a profit. If a man sells, if too many suppliers go to lower demand, then there's no sale at all. So now, this current administration of the federal government copied that program nationwide. So they've given 1,000 employment opportunities. I hope my constituency in Abia Central are listening. So for each local government in Abia Central, they had an employment opportunity of 1,000 people per local government. And government provided 20,000 naira to each one of them. So if we see Alangwa North and South alone, that was 480 million, which nobody has seen. They didn't see.
You feel there's nobody who could,
No. For each local government, it was 240 million or 1,000 people. Now, because these funds have been budgeted and released, I am going there immediately to ask what happened to the money that was supposed to be given to these unemployed people in Abia Central. And somebody's got to answer for it because the money's already been budgeted. It belongs to my constituents.
So what happens? Would it be taken back to the coffers of government?
No, because they've already been released. I'm going to ask questions. Where is the money? Who did you pay it to? Okay, the agency that distributed it will have to show us publicly whom they gave the money to, which account is supposed to be paid directly into the people's account.
All right. Just in 1 minute, what do you think about the central bank policy of, putting a halt to the 1,500 naira, old 1,500 naira usage and the subsequent address by the president asking that the 200 naira be brought back into circulation again?
You see, that's my problem with our country. Inconsistencies, distortion, they create distortions in the economy. When you plan something, you should look at the possibility of the time you're creating. When you're going to face this thing, just now, economics is not just something you put a stop to. Look at the flow. You should have looked at the demand, the supply element of what laws you're creating. Did you have the capacity to replace the 2 or 3 trillion naira in circulation? And I agree that the people were hoarding the naira, okay, and making a nonsense of the economic situation, hoarding it for the political season. So now all of us are in the same quagmire. It benefits a lot of us who have not stolen money, okay? So a lot of people might have the money, they can't influence. So for the first time, people are going to vote who they believe will benefit their lives. And I believe in Abia Central, from my antecedents, from my program. Most of them don't have programs, they don't have policies, okay? I haven't heard them talk about policy. I'm talking policy, family, economic program. Good, not KK empowerment. Good and sustainable jobs, not rice of two cups. Wealth creation, not gift. But above all, transfer of power to the next generation of leaders. A lot of them talk about when I'm going there. I heard somebody say that the Senate is for all of you. It's not just for me. I'm just going to do it. But is that a policy? Or somebody talking about I'm going to be so and so ranking. Is that a policy? The policy should be the people are hungry. Equal not people are hungry. Umahia people are hungry. Selangwa not people are hungry. Osisoma is hungry. Umahia South is hungry. They're hungry. You're talking to them about partnering with them. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Language, sir. Well, that's the point we will let you, allow the curtains drop. We are practically out of time. Thank you very much for coming on the program. But then I'd like you to wrap up speaking the Igbo language. I'd like to hear you speak the Ngwa language.
Ngwa language.
Yeah.
I speak 2 languages, English and Ngwa. Okay. Unfortunately, I do not speak mixed Ngwa. No, I'm an Ngwa. I'm onye Ngwa. Why they go okay? I'm Bolagho in the madam.
Okay.
Ebe ade ekwu okwu ligi ime nke enyekwara ga echeji emengere in for n'ọla la anọsụla ọkwa kemgbe ụwa mfụtara ọ dị hụ nchefuru obere Abuja. Why they go okay? I'm bụ ndị isi ala ngwa mbụ nna ọ bụrụla Bob Nwannụnụ ngara ga-anọchite anya ndị isi ala ngwa South. Then Kechi Nwogo aga nọchite ndị osisi ọ ga-abụ n'tọn ndị shọpara mbụ ndị isi ala ngwa North gboo. Onye ndị chọhwe ndulo ya bụ onye anya ukwu. Onye ndị kwere chọhụla edufu ya bụ onye anya ukwu dịka anyị. Onye achọla hụla edufula ya onye mbebila anyị hụ n'etiti anyị. Ga-elekwa n'anya la Abia Central anyị bụ nna. Uwe ndị amaala hụ. Sịla ọ bụ uwe nwe dọ Senate gboo la ọ bụ ke ndị ngwa. Ịbịakwa n'ebe ngwa ọ bụ n'oke isi ala ngwa North. Onye akpọpụtakwara mbụ ma Chukwuwachukwu ndị kwuru eletawa anya kemgbe ụwa. Onye na-adịghị ịkọta hụ m dị ka ga-abụ onye nchọga hụ n'ọka abụla la onye sịla agụọ nji itenye gị nri la onye adịghị ọ bụ nụ agụọ mbịa gị ga-achọ onye ga-enye gị nri. Okay? Ị ga nrụ ogidi ala mmadụ ebe agwa gị lala gị n'ụzọ ụzọ rụọla gị ahịa rụọla gị kena. Ma ị rụfukwana ma inyefu ma gọọmenti enyefughị ụzọ nyefughị mmiri nyefughị ọkụ ọ bịakwana ngịrị. Adịsa hwe mbụ gọọmenti kwesịrị ime abụghị na eji akwa akala obi. Ụlọ eji akwa akala obi mbụ family nọ otu na ndị nọ la Ụmụọba ndị nọ la Mbọsị ndị nọ la Umeje ndị nọ Obele ndị nọ la Eziala family wara iri ju afọ ha dị ekuke ma agụọ nji ndị mmadụ edie ndị mmadụ etule eji egweta ego onye ndị mata ahụ eto.
Thank you very much.
Emana m ga-abụ ike ngwa dị ka hwe ka aka. And by the way, sorry, I had a quick okay, ejighị ekwu okwu ngwa la Senate na-eji ekwu okwu ebe bụ bekee ma ịma ihe ekwu wagbọkaghị ahụ.
Order. Thank you very much, Chief Nwachukwu. We are practically out of time. The candidate of the Young Progressive Party vying for to represent the people of Abia Central Senatorial District. I've had a good time, and I hope you've had as well. Standpoint will make a return tomorrow, a special edition with Mascot Zakalo at 10. Until then, leave your dial on the sound of your city, Abia's 24-hour radio station. My name is Temple Bara. Many thanks to Estu Melo for making this possible. To Nyebucho Buna and John Kamin, thank you very much. Have a great day, and bye for now.
na-abịa